Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Einav Avni, and I'm an energy healer and an empowerment coach. I work a lot with people suffering from chronic pain, chronic illnesses, and unexplained medical conditions. And this podcast is really for you to give you a message, give you a hint, a hope, something that maybe you haven't been exposed to before. So please sit back, relax, and let's really get diving in. So with me today, Matthew Goddard. Matthew, hello. So lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate being here.
So let's get started and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Matthew Goddard. I have a business, Inner World Alchemy, and it's a spiritual coaching business for men. It kind of helps men overcome addiction and self harm tendencies and destructive patterns that they just have developed over the years from different traumas and just ways of being at the time and then doing their best in life. So, yeah, I kind of came from a background of, I realized after through all my healing, I went through addiction and self harm and mutilated most of my body for over 20 years and realized that there was root causes to it and really wanted to transform my life and change. And I found a path to do it. And now I'm kind of just giving the message to other men to try and help them do the same thing and realize that it's really internal work that will change their external world, to be better fathers, be better men, be the man they think they could be. And just kind of here to spread the message and show them a way.
Amazing, amazing. So let's dig into a little bit about your story. You say that you've suffered from addiction and self harm for many years, but how because I guess what a lot of the time, I guess I in my own thoughts, it's one thing to be aware of your situation and not being able to basically come out of it, to then finally one day to say I don't want that anymore, and then finding the way to come out. What was your journey like?
My journey is the addiction started around 13 and it just progressively got worse. And then around 14, it started with a cutting to where it was like an everyday thing. I was passing out in my basement from blood loss, was drinking heavily, and it just really progressed over the years. And it was all behaviors. It all was rooted in sexual abuse when I was younger and just not really having the greatest upbringing and really supervision and really being taught what it was to like be a man or human being in a healthy way. And as it progressively got worse, it started being me doing it, which I realize now after all the work I've put in the healing. But I took and embodied what happened to me and what I've learned from the external world, from my family and everyone around me, and just my situation. And it just really just kept getting worse and worse. Like I said, over the years, the addiction went. It started with alcohol, smoking weed, and then it went to cocaine near in my early 20s with ecstasy and Molly, and then near the end it was methamphetamine and alcohol. And then when there's this one day, I actually see my second daughter. I have two of them, and I seen the second one for the second time. And I was in my first daughter's life a lot, and the second one, it's something about only seeing her twice in 2 years really bothered me inside and like at my on a soul level. And that day I decided that I needed to do something because I was just repeating patterns and generational curses and doing the same thing to my daughters that happened to me. And one thing I knew my whole life is I did not want to do the same thing that happened to me through my father and my mother and the way that they kind of it all played out. Don't get me wrong, like my mother tried her best. She was a single mom. She tried her best. She did her best with what she could at the time. And she is a great mom and but it just I got to the point I had to change. And that's kind of what my coaching programs even for men that realize they have to change. It's not for people on the fence or like maybe I could do a little bit different. No, I had to overhaul my entire life, my thoughts, my actions, how I exist in this world, how I presented myself to the world, how I love myself, how I understood how everything worked, really diving into like the energy work and realizing that all of this was me. If I was able to make this disaster and this chaos and this abyss of hell I was living in the mental prison, then I must be able to get out of it. Because I was the only one to put myself there in the end. And when I realized that, things really started to change.
And that's a really profound statement. Exactly, because a lot of the time people are in victimhood mode, and they, they get stuck in blaming their childhood and the societies and everyone that didn't look after them. And of course, they have a valid side to all of this, but as you say, it's only when you understand your part of whatever it is that you're going through that you can then say, okay, I'm going to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the people that you're working with, it's I guess the first few meetings maybe are so important, right? Because when you make the decision that you want to change, you need then the someone to catch you, because it's so easy for us to say I'm going to change, and then for the habits and the pattern to say yes, but I'm going to go back to how I used to be, or the things that are still familiar to me. So what is the journey like at that moment when people come to you?
At that point, like you said, I was in victim mode, and I know a lot of other people are, and it could be not just victim of sexual abuse, like it's victim of, like you said, societal. It's victim of the addiction. It's victim of, say, I had a bad breakup with my first daughter's mother that really affected me, and I was just always almost like just externally trying to blame things, to realize that every step of my life and every negative situation I was being in, there's something I could have did different. And then kind of even with the self-reflection at the beginning of that journey, it's where I'm like, well, am I really a victim, or was it both of us in all situations? With my mom, after I got old enough to be able to take care of myself, to my daughter's mother, to friendships I lost, to families, like very close interpersonal relationships I had, I played a part, and I had to realize that. And acceptance through that self-reflection is another huge key to really understanding, like, you're not a victim anymore. At this point, once you become, even to me, like an early teenager, looking back now, if there was time, I could have changed all of that and the whole outcome trajectory of my life. And knowing that, again, has been like profound. It's feeling I was never a victim. Maybe I was younger and I couldn't take care of certain things, and certain things happened to me. I was a victim then. But what I'm trying to help other men realize, and even what I'm trying to teach my daughters now, is that everything that happens, you were in control, whether it's negative or positive. That's all a label that you put on it, bad or good. Looking back now, everything that's happened to me through my addiction, through the years of self mutilation, through even, it's weird to say, the things that I learned from looking back and gleaning the lesson from the sexual abuse that I learned, who I wouldn't be. Everything that's ever happened to me, and really the most dark and negative ones, have been the most things that I learned the greatest lesson from, that I've been able to take and implement in my life, and even like just understanding on a soul level who I am, and really taking that energy and transmuting even to this business now, and starting this business to help other men, because I'm very passionate about it, and it's something that every morning I wake up hoping to pull someone else from the darkness, and really understanding, though, getting into that victim mode is key to being able to start progressing and co-creating a life that you're really happy and proud to wake up to. And just the getting past that victim mode gave me like peace and tranquility, because when you're in a victim mode and you're always thinking you're being victimized or always trying to blame other people, you're always going to have the emotions of chaos. You're always going to have the emotions of hate. You're always going to have the emotion that you can't lose them, and get the peace and tranquility and just the quietness. That's probably the biggest gift I got, was quietness in my mind. Be able to sit there and have no thoughts and just be happy and smile.
And we're going to get back to that part in a minute. um I think it's so interesting what you're saying, because yes, when you're a victim, it's all external, and when you realize that you have a choice, you can start now thinking, what do I do with this choice? How do I move forward in a way that is actually, at least, is different to what I was doing before? and then having the support of someone like you that says, actually, I've been there and I know what you're going through, and let's try things slightly differently, focusing on the future that you want, is so huge, especially, as you say, when someone is so deep into the dark or the darkness, and you're able to say, hang in there, I'll guide you, we'll go through this together, as long as you recognize that there are choices and there are other ways to do things, you'll be all right. And here you are, it's like a godsend, right? It's a huge thing that you're offering to your clients.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of it is like too is like it's losing that victim mentality, is really taking your power back, and kind of the nothing's negative or positive, and the power you're able to like gain through this knowledge, and to really start, like, for me to be able to really see myself co-create every day, every minute of the day, and to help other people to be a better father, to be the human being that I always wanted to be and the person I needed when I was little, has been amazing. And it's when you decide to take that step and change, and you realize that, again, all the external things can victimize you, but even then, I believe that we're just here on a spiritual journey. Like, in the end, all this doesn't really matter. It's really what you learn. And taking this mindset, and shifting my mind like that, and changing the lens of how I view the world and my perspective on everyday life and every relationship I've had and things I've lost and things I've gained, and just the journey, really, and being in the power of the moment, the power of now, has realized we're just here experiencing this. And when you learn that, the power that comes with it is just, it's freeing, it's liberating, it changes you. Like I said, on a soul level, on an energetic level, on a cellular level, like, it's something about deciding that and deciding I want to take my power back at that moment, just has been the best decision I've ever made.
But I want to expand on that a little bit, because a lot of the time, a lot of my clients, I'm listening to things that they're saying, and I could really identify nearly the moment when they made a decision when to have the problem that they're having.
Mm.
And now they say, well, I am that. They're completely identified with that problem. And of course, I can see that this is, it, I can see when it happened. I could see when that problem formed and the decision formed too. And so how do you deal with it? How do you say, well, that was a decision, now let's make another decision? How do you separate between this, them identifying with the problem and the old patterns and habits and the way that they are, to help them see that actually it's just a choice and they can be and do and have things in a different way?
Well, another thing is, I do find labels and getting put in a box, from even AA and NA to certain things. I'm an addict. I'm a sexual abuse survivor. I'm a even to I'm white. I'm this sexual orientation. All these labels. I'm from this country. Like, kind of take your power away, because it's putting you in a box. And it's even
Mhm.
the same thing with all those traumas and all, and the what you struggle with addiction. I was a man that would constantly cut himself, and have scars everywhere. Like, putting these labels on me, even with my ADHD, and being told I had that most of my life, and other things, going through like therapy, when they try to label me with depression, anxiety. When you start putting those labels on, you're really limiting yourself. And when I realized this, to help realize that change, which I'm trying to help people with Inner World Alchemy in my coaching program, is showing them this and kind of walking them through that, and be like, are you really that though? You don't have to be. You could be this. Like, it's you're really the decider. It's the external pressure of making you feel, because maybe because these events even happened, or because you lived a certain way, or because you had these certain patterns. You don't have to do that. And yes, it may be ingrained, but you can do the work to change. Just like you did the work to become to this point, and wake up every day and choose to use a drug or substance or alcohol, or choose to have a a sex addiction or choose to feel like you can't get along with your child's mother because you guys have had issues, to co-parent in a healthy way, to even repairing relationships and forgiving people, like you can do that. Like just like you formed all these patterns and behaviors, you can now change that to whatever else you want. It's just, again, realizing and deciding you want to change your lens. I never really understood how important it was making that decision. And it is hard to certain, but there's a lot of times on my journey I could have, but I didn't because something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it wasn't articulated to me in a way, or maybe it wasn't presented in a way that really was profound enough or to help me understand enough that that was actually a possibility. And honestly, even with my coaching business and kind of coming on this podcast, it's showing and sharing my story, my journey, to maybe that can be for somebody. That can be the catalyst for like, okay, well, he did it. I can definitely do it. Because I'm not anybody special. I've just made a decision. And I just stuck to the decision. That's all it was to transform my life. And within 2 years and making that decision, I've got my kids back. I've repaired every relationship I had, whether it was ending on a good term and going our separate ways, even with very close family members, to past relationships, to me making amends with people that actually victimized me by myself and deciding that, to realizing just all like that decision is paramount. And I'm just here to help men once they can make that decision, to show them the way. Because the hardest part was for me was after making that decision, kind of getting everything back. And luckily, I've paid attention to the entire process for myself because I knew it was meaningful and probably the most memorable part of my journey as a human being has been this last 2 years. And seeing the switch from going from the abyss of hell to feeling like I'll wake up in heaven every day.
So it's so profound, and I'm really, I'm very grateful for you to sharing this your experiences and this journey. I know, like I said, also it's not enough to go through the motion. You have to make that decision. You have to say, actually, I've woken up now. I want to do things differently, and actually feel that with all of your being that now this is the time. It's like weight loss. For me, on my own journey, some people say, well, no problem, just do this or do that. And I'm like, yeah, but no, it's not about that. I need to make a decision. It needs to happen. Otherwise, forget it. I'm going to go back. I'm going to put back all the weight, all of these things. So it's really, I know what you're talking about, and I'm very grateful for you for sharing that. Um, I want to ask a little bit about the energy. You've mentioned everything is energy. Also, the experiences, the good and the bad, they've made you to who you are today. But it's really the understanding that it's all energy that is a big part of that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, for me, part of my healing journey was really, I immersed myself in it so much that it was more of kind of cultivating a spiritual life, but it was also diving into quantum physics, seeing how spiritual science, to me, science and spiritual and religion are saying the same thing. Up the way, as human beings, we linguistically get confused by words. But when I really took the time to sit there and watch how they're parallel, I really dove into energy and understanding the energy and almost alchemy for me, which is just the transmutation of energy. And that being me taking the energy that was becoming a blockage in my life to lead to addiction and the self-harm thing was pent up energy from my childhood and things that happened, and what I feel I didn't really learn. Well, what I did learn, which was negative and was not really the right way for me to be living or acting or thinking or control or mastering my emotions or controlling them. And realizing this, I took all those, which were the negative experiences, and took that energy to get where I am now. and it's taking that energy, because whether you realize it or not, we're energetic bodies. All human beings are just energetic bodies. Everything in the world is a vibration or frequency. Even us, we're just frequency and vibrations. And it's, I mean, you could, if you really look into quantum physics, like you see it in quantum mechanics, how this whole reality and universe works. It's just different energies everywhere, and learning through alchemy and the transmutation of those, and really understanding that energy is also always changing, and on a cellular level, on a like on an atomic level, on an energy thought level, because your thoughts are energy, your actions are energy. They're all just different energies. And really understanding that for me, because I went to the foundation, it helped for me, and I kind of teach that on my program as well, is that going to the foundational structure of it made it easier for me in we call it the 3D realm or the matter world, to realize that, to realize there was 100% a way for me to change that.
I love that. I think it's another tool to help people see where they are at the moment, and basically how they can change. Because when you start looking at it as energy, you give a distance between the patterns and what you want to achieve instead. So it's really like another way of looking at everything and saying, yes, I recognize that you might want to be going back to how things were, maybe wanting, not wanting, but feeling that you have to, because we're always wanting to repeat patterns and stuff. And and bringing that as a pattern interrupt and saying, 1 second, this is the energy, this is how you were before. We can change that. We can go into this more flowy or freeing energy, and basically it's another way to show people that they don't have to go back, and helping them to change and transform.
To me, it's almost been like a game. I realized that it almost became like a game. And I'm going to touch on this first. So for me, it's, I identify as Christian, but at the same time, it's like that for me, and Jesus has been like the path in a way, but that, and knowing the energy, because to me, even he speaks about in the Bible, and you hear him speak and how he's talking about things, he's referencing the energy. It's like the process of everything, and like the real intricate part and everyday details you don't see of my spirituality, and kind of looking at it with like a spiritual science, adding that energy, like I said, has become a game, and enjoying the pattern erupts. Like you can literally control. It's easy as your thoughts. When the thought comes or a pattern starts happening, being the observer is also very important. Just like, oh, I started doing a pattern again. I don't like that pattern interrupt. And when you start doing that, it really changes everything. And the way your thoughts flow, the way you start your emotions lead to the thoughts, to the actions, you really start gaining control and become the captain of those. And it's very important, I believe. And again, that's something that I had to use to help me alongside of Jesus. And it was kind of like I said, the both paths. But now it kind of came connected to the top for me. But
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that you found that thing that helped you, and of course now you can help others. So tell me a little bit. We spoke earlier, and you mentioned the 5 days challenge that you have coming up, and share with us a little bit about what is coming.
well, I got a 5 day challenge. October 30th. I'll be doing it on Facebook Live, and it's kind of, I launched October 30th, my new business. It'll be my first go around, and it's kind of just giving a blueprint and more of what we're speaking about right now, but in a way that I kind of delve deeper into it and really show why what I'm doing works. Because even what I'm doing with my business and this 12-week program is the same thing every coaching business does. It's just at like the foundational level, like I said, energetically, and in the sense of realizing everything's mind and you can control everything. Like you said, with the weight loss, like you had to make a decision. You have to stick to it. You have to decide that's what you're doing. That's the new path, and following it. And so gonna really just like I said, delve into showing more of what I have to offer and what helped me heal and what helped me get here. And excited.
Yeah. And when you're talking to, so say someone is listening now, and they recognize that some of the things that you're talking about really does sound like them, maybe part of the journey, maybe more of that journey, they recognize resonates with them. What next? So they get in touch. What is that journey? What does the journey looks like for them from the moment that they come and speak with you?
I'll kind of give them sign up for the program, and then I would give them the workbook, and then we'd go through the 12 weeks, and it'll be a weekly group coaching session, and it'll be once a month, one-on-one, and there will be some coursework. But I'll dive pretty deep into on the group weekly sessions into what helped me transform my entire life. Like, and it will the blueprint I use, I guarantee can work for any other man because, like I said, I'm not anyone special. It's just I took the time and did the work and committed to myself, to my daughters, to just a life I feel like not feel I know I deserve and that I'm worthy of, and realizing and just they will leave there for sure with a better understanding and a different lens by the end of the program.
I think just I'm missing my word. I I want to say, but my words are not coming out. But just by being with you on a program, on a on a in a connection with you, and every person has their own story. Every person has their own reasons or circumstances in which they ended up being on that place where they feel that is dark, and maybe that they can't see the way out. But just by being with you or in connection with you, they see the light. They get your incredible compassion and wisdom, of course, but also that feeling of you know you can do this. It feels, when you speak, there's this really serene and really deep sensation of how much you care about that place that people are in at the moment, and how to help them come out of it. And and that's what I feel. So I think it's so special that you are here to create this program for people to really trust and put their journey, or have or be on this journey with you together, to get to that really better, more profound place that they want to be.
And I do believe, even with what you said about, so I've been talking a lot about this and thinking a lot about it, is the people's darkness are different. Just because maybe some people even haven't gone to the level of certain things that I've dealt with doesn't mean the man I couldn't help them, because it doesn't matter what the baseline or what actually happened. We all, as human beings, we all have the same darkness. We all hit rock bottoms. It doesn't matter the actual experiences. The worst thing that happened in your life is the worst thing, and it's going to feel just like the one for me. And so I really also want to kind of extend this program and offer to other men that just want to change their life and change their mindset, become better fathers, hopefully become different men. I don't want to say better men, just different men, and have better patterns and behaviors and habits. So it's also for men like that, because I think it's important to realize that, like I said, just because you didn't suffer sexually, just because you didn't suffer through addiction, you still have your own darkness and your own place that you're struggling to get out of. And I just think that I think it's important that the world knows that more, and human beings recognize that. People want to compare stories and compare who had it worse, who had this, and that's where that victim and justification comes in, why you did things, why you are the way you are, and that's a trap of the mind.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for making that point, actually, because I think it's important. It's not necessarily about what does your darkness look like. It's really about how can you get help to come out of it in your own way, and just with your support. I just wonder, maybe you can just give a few minutes, just a few sentences about why is it that you're working with men? I think it's important for men to hear that as well, because that's reassuring in a way as well, I feel.
For me, it's about, well, one, being a man and realizing I felt there's a lot of times I didn't have an avenue to get help. Or if I did, I was looked at funny. Maybe I wasn't, and maybe it was projections, but I felt that way. And I feel like a lot of times societal, at least in America, like societal norms and the way we're molded is they try and mold men into kind of being heartless and trying always trying to be the alpha and always trying to and just is very violent. And I fell into that trap for a very long. I was a violent man for a very long time through my addiction
Mm-hmm.
to do it into things I got into and had issues. And that was one of the biggest things I'm happy I got away from. And it's just kind of sound, you decide who you are. No external thing does. And I think that's kind of the point. And you don't have to fall in them traps. And it's, I want to be an avenue for men to get a different perspective because I just don't think there's a lot of perspective like mine to where we really, people are touching on this or even teaching young boys.
I think you're right. So it's so important, and it's wonderful that you are here to offer that. Um, just before we finish, what message would you like our listeners to take away with them today?
Biggest message is no matter what they've experienced or what they think their ceiling is, it's not true. They human beings are amazing and they can accomplish anything they want and they get any darkness they choose to as long as they make that decision.
Yeah, the decision. Underline.
That's very
Uh,
important.
Matthew, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your message and wisdom with the world. Of course, all of your social links and everything will be underneath the chat wherever people are watching or listening to, and they can, of course, get in touch, follow you, and find you, and continue the journey with you. Hopefully, thank you so much for being here. To you and for everyone who is listening or watching. Thank you.
Really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.